Outclassed and exposed. Those are the two words that I'll be using to describe the first T20 against the West Indies. Some might say that the second word that I'm using in this particular review is quite harsh, but I think that it is a definition of what has taken place, because a lot of the mistakes that South Africa made and a lot of the shortcomings that we have in the side were exposed in this particular match. The West Indies beat us by 8 wickets. And in this particular instance, it's not a lot closer than it seems. It was well deserved. And in every single department, with the ball, with the bat, they showed the Proteas how they should be playing the T20 game. In my opinion, we are far behind the rest of the world, and we need to get that gap a little closer. And I'm hoping that this series will teach the Proteas everything that they need to learn heading into that World Cup. But to the guys that are on this channel and have not subscribed yet, please subscribe if you're new. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Smash the daylights out of that like button. Let's get this trending all over YouTube. And I'm going to be talking with Aditya today on the show. So let's get into the discussion. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host Khalid Mohideen. This is where we talk about everything that happened in the T20 series between the West Indies and South Africa, particularly the first T20. So, my assessment first and foremost. So, from a batting performance, South Africa looked like they were always searching on how they were supposed to be playing on this wicket. They never looked comfortable. They were, except Quinton de Kock, of course, and Reza Hendricks in the first couple of overs that he faced. I really thought that Reza was going to kick on. Nobody expected him to be selected. If you looked at our previous show of this particular series, nobody saw him being selected. So let's start with the selection process. I think that's the first step that a lot of people are going to be talking about, because I think that's where we go into the next T20 and talking about who should be picked there. So first and foremost, when I look at the selection, that is going to probably be the first talking point that we're going to be talking about. Now, Cricket Connoisseur has joined us now, so I'm going to bring him onto the stream. Hello, Aaron. How are you doing, bro? Good to see you.
I know, yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it, boys? Apologies. I have been at various cricket games across England and not so much Wales, but I've been up to the northeast, so a lot of travelling this week. But yeah, happy to be back on, boys. Just a shame that the result wasn't the one that South Africa fans would have wanted necessarily last night in Grenada.
Yeah, so I'm going to be obviously splitting it up into different sections, Aaron. So we're going to be talking about this in various segments that I feel that needs to take the front seat in this particular discussion, because I'll start with the selection. And a lot of people were surprised over the selection of Reza Hendricks first and foremost, especially after Aiden Markram scored 350s against Pakistan in the T20 series. Let's just rewind a bit and think about why Aiden played in the first place, because before that, nobody wanted Aiden in the setup. I remember very clearly that people didn't want Aiden in the T20 setup until Pakistan, and he showed what he was capable of there. Aiden played because Reza was on paternity leave, and obviously because his wife was giving birth to a baby, and that's why he wasn't in a setup. So that's the reason why Reza wasn't there. So Aiden came into the fold because of that. Yanaman Malan was then supposed to be the first guy that was supposed to be in that particular position, which surprises me that he's kind of gone to the outskirts now and not being seen as the first choice T20 partner for Quinton de Kock. So when it comes to our opening position, there are concerns over there, and definitely there were concerns over there. Kemba, now he's fit and ready to play, of course, and he was fit and ready to play. Showed a little bit what he was capable of. But like I said, none of the batsmen really looked in except Quinton de Kock. Quinton, once again, losing his wicket at a time when we really needed to kick on and turn that 37 or 30 into something special, into a 50 or maybe even more. I really thought that he would kick on. And my assessment of the first innings or the first half of that match was, okay, 160 is average, but we're 20 short, roundabout, I thought, at that time. And I was like, but South Africa can bowl and maybe restrict the West Indies, especially if they're going to have a lot of big hitters that are going to swing. And when I looked at that lineup and watched them play in the IPL, the way you get Kieran Pollard is he's someone that the way you get Russell and the way you get Pollard, not Pollard, but the way you get Russell, sorry, and those guys is you bowl short. And you bowl, because you can see if you bowl the slower short deliveries, they pull across and, they don't necessarily get contact to the ball. It's to prevent them from getting contact on the ball is the main thing. Same with Chris Gayle. If you can get him in the opening segment of the match early when he's just walked in, because his strike rate is significantly lower in his first couple of overs than it is towards the end. So once he gets his eye in, so get him early, that's the way to do it. So let's first and foremost, I thought that the pitch was slow. That was my interpretation of the way South Africa batted. But then West Indies came in and it looked like a different pitch. They were smacking us all around the ground. But the difference over there for me was the way the West Indies bowled. I thought that South Africa would take lessons from that, look at that, and say, slower deliveries, slower bounces, and fuller deliveries are the key on this wicket. But South Africa came out from KG, Andrich, and Lungi. They all bowled short, fast deliveries. I was seeing them bowl 145, 149, and I was like, this is completely the opposite of the way the West Indies bowled. The slower delivery, the variations, the Yorkers, those are the deliveries they should have been bowling. And it was clear to see that on the wicket. And I don't know why there wasn't a change in mentality. Maybe they thought that if they can bowl these bounces, West Indies will make a mistake and the ball will go up into the air and will get a lot of catches, or they'll get a top edge and it will go to the keeper, or they'll get a bottom edge and it will knock onto their stumps. Or I don't know what they were thinking, but when they saw that Lewis playing the way he was, it was concerning to me that they would still persist with the same game plan. So that's just my interpretation of it. Also, with the batting, why is David Miller coming in at 6? If Heinrich Klaasen is the backup batsman, then David Miller should be coming up the order, higher up the order. I don't understand that logic either. But okay, that's my point of view of this particular match. Aticha, let's go with you, and then I would like to hear your thoughts, Aaron.
A disappointing game for South Africa, right from selection to tactics to execution. I think they were outplayed in all three departments. You're right about Reza Hendricks. In the series against Pakistan, South Africa had determined that they want to play T20 cricket a certain way. And Aiden Markram and Yaneman Malan did a fantastic job of showing what that opening partnership is capable of. So, with no offense to Reza Hendricks, but to see him in the side, and he did fairly well in his defense, but it's a case of fixing something that isn't broken. So, having either Aiden Markram or Yaneman Malan coming in and batting the way that South Africa said they want to bat. I don't know why it didn't happen that way. Temba Bavuma, 22 of 20. It's fair to expect that he'd be scratchy. He hasn't had a lot of game time since his injury. So I can sort of understand where that's coming from. Rassie van Dussen played extremely well for his 56. I think his innings really brought South Africa to a respectable total. But to me, where I thought the game was lost was Heinrich Klaasen, I think, made 7 of 12. And David Miller made 9 of 11. So you have your number 5 and number 6 batters take 23 deliveries to score 16 runs towards the back end of an innings. There's no 9 out of 10 times you're going to lose T20 games if that's your strike rate towards the end. We've talked a lot about what a finisher's strike rate should be. Andre Russell is striking at 220. Hardik Pandya is striking at 190. Moin Ali is striking at 180. You have 16 of, and thank you to Aaron for those stats, but you have 16 of 23 towards the end against a powerhouse West Indian batting lineup. That's not going to work. Similarly with the bowling, look, Andre Russell has a weakness against the short ball, but every West Indian batsman doesn't have a weakness against the short ball. You see in the IPL, a lot of bowlers who are trying to at least contain Chris Gayle and Kieron Pollard are trying to bowl wide Yorkers because they don't want to bowl within their arc. So I didn't see that plan being implemented there. The other thing is I would much rather have a bowler who's not having a great day bowl an attempted Yorker that goes for 6 rather than just continuously knock it short and get hit for 6, because at least you're trying to limit the West Indian batters. We said on the preview show that of all the teams that play T20 international cricket, the West Indians take the fewest singles, which means that they're poor at rotating strike. They have a lot of confidence in their ability to hit balls out of the park, but that's a weakness in their game, that they don't rotate strike. And I would have thought that South Africa would have tried to go there, because if you're bowling a short ball all the time, you are giving them that inevitable single. So I felt like the bowling went horribly wrong yesterday, and I hope that there are changes made today. But in saying that, I think if there's something that the batting needs to fix, it is the opening partnership. And you're right about Miller. I think he has to come in at 5. And, if we're taking a risk, Heinrich Klaasen hasn't been in form for quite a while. It's important to give Vian Mulder a chance, because he is a quality batsman. He gets that opportunity to express himself, and he is another pace bowling option. So it is something that South Africa need to consider, because and yesterday was that time when I think Andrek Nokia bowled 2 overs. Because I think it looked like the game plan was going to be that the last 2 overs would be bowled at the death. But West Indies were never going to leave it for the 20th over. They were always going to finish off early. So there was no point in really delaying Andrek Nokia's second spell. So yeah, I guess those are my 2 cents.
Simple, man. And the bowling plan was completely off. That's my whole point. That's what I made in the first half of this video is the West Indies took pace with the ball. They bowled a lot of slower deliveries. Now we saw that Lungi Ngidi has been doing this in Test cricket. He's been using slower deliveries, and he's been using a lot of variations in Test cricket. It's part of his game in the IPL. KG, I'm sure that they have the ability to be able to take some pace off the ball. And that's also where you start to think about whether they should have someone that can bowl that slower deliveries automatically, someone like Andile Peklikwayo. But yeah, he's been in terrible form, so it makes it difficult for you to just select him straight away. Another thing is that extra bowling option. You obviously want that. That's why Aiden is such a key to this team, because he provides some off spin and he can be in the side as an extra bowler. But Aaron, I mean, you can give us probably the most unbiased analysis of this.
Well, yeah, and you've just mentioned there about Markram being that extra bowling option. Of course, South Africa only had 5, out-and-out bowling options. We haven't even mentioned Reza Hendricks' over. Went for 21, didn't it? Completely killed the game, unfortunately. But, I mean, there's so much to unpack. There really is. I mean, it's an absolutely disastrous start to the series in so many ways. I mean, Aditi, you've absolutely smashed it. Selection was off. Tactics were completely off. And then the execution was non-existent. It's as simple as that. This was an absolute annihilation at the hands of the West Indies. They looked like they were playing on a completely different pitch with both the bat and the ball in hand. I suppose we have to talk about the batting first and the selection, because it's been mentioned a lot in the comments so far, and it is about South Africa's approach. Was it a bit too defensive? In my opinion, yes. I think they could have maximised the power play even more. Of course, wickets falling at inopportune moments as well never helps. But you just look at this squad that played yesterday, and how many anchors are in that squad? You've got Reezy, you've got Temba, you've got Rassie van der Dusen. That's 3 anchors. How many are in the West Indies side? In all seriousness, they play a completely different brand of cricket. It's very enterprising, very entertaining cricket. South Africa are playing T20 cricket at a standard which you'd expect 5-10 years ago. They haven't evolved with the times. You look at England, for example, we have Dawid Malan, and we all know about the criticism that he gets put under. I mean, he scored a brilliant 76 yesterday. Didn't necessarily score the runs in the power play, but accelerated his innings as the match went on. And that's fine to have a guy like that, but you can't have 3 of them. It's as simple as that. You just can't. You need to have strike rate. 160 for 6 on paper looks quite good in Grenada. It does. It's a decent total. With that being said, though, when you're not going to bowl to the conditions, you're not going to bowl to the pitch, you're just going to go pace on and short balls, what do you expect? It's as simple as that. Like, I was so confused. I really was. And this is coming from someone from a neutral perspective. And fair play to the West Indies. They got their game plan spot on with the bowling. We spoke about the clever changes of pace. Look at Dwayne Bravo towards the end and that penultimate over. Brilliant variations with his pace. Got George Linder out with a fantastically disguised slow balls. Completely killed the momentum at the end of the innings. But then when the West Indies were batting, there was none of that. It was so one-dimensional. Just pace on, short balls. We mentioned about slow ball bouncers. Jason Holder got a wicket with a slow ball bouncer. When were the South Africans bowling slow ball bouncers? It was just samey. It's as simple as that. And I like South Africa. South Africa are a much better side than this. It's as simple as that. You look on paper, these guys are killing it in the IPL. They're killing it in domestic cricket. But they just do not have the same cohesion as a unit in international cricket. And this is a massive, massive problem. Don't get me wrong. You look at the West Indies, they are an outstanding T20 outfit. But just 3 months ago, in March, Sri Lanka beat them in a T20I in Antigua. The fact is they're beatable. They aren't an unbeaten side. You can beat them if you actually play to conditions. As Aditya said, you can exploit the weaknesses. They're there. We've seen them in franchise cricket. But I just feel like for this series opener, I almost feel like the threat of the West Indies might have actually been underestimated because it was lacking any sort of game plan, any sort of tactics. And it's a massive, massive shame. And also just another thing, I have to mention it, Khalid, just before we do move on, of course, about the bowlers, because you've got 3 seamers who, all in all, are pretty similar in Lungin Gidi, Kisa Abad and Onrik Norkia. And in an ideal world, you would have an Undila Pethlaquayo in there to fulfill the same role that Dwayne Bravo did with the slower Yorkers, the slow ball bouncers, stuff like that. But again, the dilemma facing South Africa is that he is horribly out of form. And I suppose, will South Africa bite the bullet? Will they risk going with Pethlaquayo, even knowing the lack of form that he has been suffering from? Will they bite the bullet and risk Pethlaquayo on a surface which suits him to an absolute T? Or will they go with VR Mulder or Lizard Williams? And that is the big question heading into tonight's game at St. George's.
And this ruthlessness and smart cricket that Mbok Boucher wants to speak about, it doesn't only start on the field. It starts with his selection as well. He needs to be a lot more, there needs to be, my thing is when you're going into a World Cup tournament and you're playing for a trophy, it's 1 month. There doesn't need to be politics involved for that month or 2 months. I think for that tournament, try to pick the best team that you can possibly pick. If you pick everybody on form, you will still be putting out a team that is representative of the country, I feel. I think that is possible with the squad that we have. So, for example, a guy like Lizard Williams, you can pick him. He falls into the mold of someone that is in. He's brilliant with the ball. Has the excellent attitude. He plays an aggressive style of cricket, as well as he's a player of color. So it's not like can't pick players of color that can do the job. That's one thing that I always want to put out there. But I think that when it comes to a World Cup competition, you shouldn't be picking on sentiment, and you shouldn't be picking on using politics to pick teams. I think that you can pick your squad, have an identity of how you want to play, but then pick the best players that are in form currently. That's the only way you're going to win. I will see excuses floating around for the die-hard Proteas fans that, yes, we're coming off a test series and a lot of these players are the test players and they're obviously maybe a little bit more fatigued because it's so quickly after the test series. But I don't want to take that as anything, because you can also look at it in the reverse. I look at it in the reverse and I say, but these guys have been playing cricket. They are in momentum. They're in full swing. They should be at the peak of their form. coming into a T20 series. When they bowled the way they had, the tests ended earlier than normal, so they've had extra days off. So that can't be an excuse. Going into this next game, let's talk about the next game. I think that straight away, I think Aditya and you, Aaron, hit the nail on the head when you said, I've always spoken about it as well. You need to pick the guys with the right mentality for T20 cricket. That's what you need to do. So you can't just be picking players because for whatever reason and then just expecting them to perform and change their style just to fit in a T20 setup or this aggressive brand of cricket. So having 3 anchors in a team it doesn't make sense to me. Now, we must remember that Faf comes back into the side. I would like to see Faf open with Quinton in the World Cup. That is something that I would like to see, because if you put Faf right at the beginning, let him open up in India, where he's used to the conditions and where he's performed well in the IPL, it gives you a lot of options to pick 3, 4, 5, 6. You can decide if you want to pick another anchor in case someone falls, or you can decide you want to pick a more attacking batsman like Markram. You have options available if you push Faf up the order. As soon as you move Faf to 3 or 4, then we're going to start wobbling, because we're like, oh, flip, who are we going to play? Yanaman, must we play Aiden? Must we play Riza Hendricks? Must we play Pavuma as our opener? It's causing a lot of problems. Now they've made Temba captain, and there's nothing we can do about that. It's unfortunate that there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do about that. We have to accept it. So dropping your captain is going to mean that you made the incorrect decision from the start, and all the selectors and is Boucher brave enough to do something like that? I'm not so sure that he is. So I feel that Temba hasn't played up to his potential, and I think that he still has. He hasn't, and I don't think this is his roof, because we've seen what he can do in other teams that he's played for. Yes, different levels, but I want to see him do it in the international phase. I think we can get critical after the series. Let's see give Temba this one series, because to say that he's not a good captain is I think premature, because you've only really seen him in one series as captain. So I think give him this series as captain in difficult conditions, and let's see. Let's see what he does, and then we can come on and have a chat with him after the West Indies series. We can have a chat as a fan base and criticize him as much as you want to. I've never said that you mustn't criticize players. That's nothing. All the views of your guys is your views and opinions. So let your views flow. That's what I want from you guys. Let's go into the next series. I think first and foremost, I want to see Rassie at 3. That's what I always wanted to see, but we know that Temba is going to play at 3. So Rassie at 4. Because the reason why I want to push Rassie up as well is because I would love to see David Miller at 4. Because I think David is such a talented player, and so such an important player for South Africa, that if he is that guy for us, and he's the guy that you turn to, he should bat higher and have more opportunity to bat. Because it's almost like we are filling spots, but not giving our players the best opportunity to be the best that they can be. That's my concern. We move them around and out of position and don't give them the best opportunity to bat. So even maybe moving Temba as an opener, because in this particular format, it might suit him better to play in the power play and open the batting with someone like Quinton. But then again, on the flip side, you have the dilemma that you want to smash from the get-go and put them under pressure. So that's why Aiden at opening is an even better option if you're going to look at it from that perspective. But what I want to see is Aiden in. Whether they open with him or they put him at 3, that's up to the selectors and the coaching staff and the captain themselves to decide. And Aiden needs to bowl. He needs to be a 6th bowling option, because South Africa doesn't currently have that, like you saw. So having a 6th bowling option is very important. I would like to see someone like Heinrich Klaassen. I don't think that his selection wasn't warranted in this particular game, I think. And once again, he's going out. When he does go out and he looks poor, he looks poor. When he looks good, he looks good. So it's one of those type of situations. But I think that you need an extra... I don't know, Dwayne Pretorius would have solved this problem.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
absolutely.
he's not here. We needed a batting all-rounder. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So the main change I want to see is Aiden coming to the lineup. That's probably the main thing that I want to see for Heinrich Klaassen. I think that is something that I want to see, and maybe Riza Hendricks. You see, they've made it clear that Riza is the person that they want to see open, because that was their mentality before Pakistan. So it's tough for me to think of what I would do, but then also on the flip side, think about what the coach and selectors would do. It's like I'm in between two places over there. I think this from Werner, excellent team from his part. De Kock, Markram, Bavuma, Rassi, Miller, Mulder, Linda, Pechlikwayo, Rabada, Nokia, and Shamsi. I think that's a good team. I think that's a really decent team. So yeah, sorry, Siri started speaking to me now. I don't know why she's coming on. They think I'm saying hey Siri, but I didn't say that. I said Rassi. Maybe that's what you thought I was saying. Anyway, so guys, what do you think of this team? What changes would you make for the next game? Let's start with Aditya.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid team. I think from the performance we saw from South Africa yesterday, they have the resources for 1 and 2. My concern is 5 and 6, because you have Miller. Miller is going to be in that 11. The question is, who's going to be number 6? Do they want the additional batsman, or do they want the additional all-rounder? And what sort of form are they in right now? That's a question, because we know that George Linde practices his batting quite frequently, and he's in particularly power hitting. So that's going to be an important asset. But it's the truth of the matter is that 5 and 6 have to perform far better than they did yesterday. It's as simple as that. 5 and 6 cannot be making 16 of 23 balls. It doesn't work. That is never going to win you games. It's as simple as that. If they'd made 50 of the last 23 balls, we might not be having this conversation today. We'd be having another one. So that's something that South Africa need to sort out, because Heinrich Klaassen is a quality player. We're not denying that, but maybe he's not fully confident right now, and maybe the team needs an additional bowling option, which again, yesterday's bowling performance indicated that they do. So I think the biggest headache for the management is going to be who's going to bat at number 6. But in saying that, Werner has a fantastic team, and I agree with Vian Mulder's selection at 6, certainly.
Yeah, it's quite a nice team, that I must admit, from Werner. The only thing that I would say, I want to see Lazard Williams, to be honest. That's the only change that I would want to see. The only issue there, though, presenting itself is the batting again. And I suppose that this is another problem that we've actually spoken about on multiple occasions with South Africa. They have got so many quality top-order batsmen. You look at that top 4, you could absolutely stack it. It's like England with opening batsmen, but it's about finishing off an innings as well. And that is something which I don't think the South Africans have done necessarily well in the past few series. And again, that issue is going to present itself in West Indies. It's as simple as that. I love the addition of Vian Mulder. The only problem, though, is it a lot of pressure to come in if the team hasn't scored a lot of runs. That's the only thing that I would say. But no, decent team that. Another thing that I will just say, boys, and of course for all the viewers out there, I know I keep on saying this, but when was the last time South Africa won a T20I series?
Don't even remember when. That's the thing.
2019. It was Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
2019.
I was thinking about Sri Lanka, because I was trying to run through everything, and I'm like, when I think about it, I mean, it's so inconsistent. I think the players are so inconsistent that the team performances are also inconsistent. Like, when last did we actually see a team selected or squad selected where we have majority of our first team players? I mean, majority of the time in the T20 setup, we don't even play our best players. Quinton de Kock's not available. Rabada's not available. So many guys are not available. So yeah, I mean, like I said, Boucher's record with regards to wins is not really that good. And I think it comes across to me that he's kind of caught between 3 worlds, I would say, because he has the test that he needs to figure out where there's a resurgence happening over there, or is the whole rotation thing happening there, and he needs to find out who his best players are there. the ODIs are still the ODI World Cup, the 50 over World Cup, is still quite the way times away. So he has some time over there. But now he has to pick the best team that can perform right now. So people are throwing in the comments that Faf must play. Now Faf is not in the squad for this particular series.
But Khalid, can I just say something about that? Because it does relate to the West Indies. And it's a fantastic point. It was made by Mashel, obviously, who's been on the show numerous occasions now for the West Indies series. And it was a great point. You look at the West Indies before World Cup or immediately after 2016, for example, and the likes of Narine, Russell, Gale, Pollard, Bravo aren't in the team. It's as simple as that. So they have so many bilateral series where these guys are going around the world playing franchise cricket instead of playing for the West Indies. But then when it gets to the business end, they're suddenly filtering
Which is
back
now.
in. Exactly. Why is that not happening with South Africa?
I don't know. And it irritates me and I get upset about it because Imran Tahir, Chris Morris, Faf du Plessis, these are guys that we would like to see in the setup. Like, at least give them an opportunity to show whether they're good enough or not. And then you can worry about all the other problems. Give everybody opportunities now leading up to it. Because the World Cup, we don't have a lot of games to be able to practice. We need to have our best team sorted. And we need to go into the tournament with confidence. So it's difficult it's a difficult decision to make. And it was difficult, I felt, also for Temba as a captain, because it's not necessarily his fault that that team was selected, that he didn't have a 6 bowling option. It wasn't necessarily his fault. I don't know what the instructions were from him to the bowlers. And at what point do the senior players have a say? So when you got KG, Lungi, and Andrich who have played IPL, they've played IPL, they have the experience in the T20 game, far more experience than Temba. So first and foremost, you make someone a captain that doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience in the T20 international arena. And there are guys, and Temba does always seem like a type of guy that likes to listen to others. I've always got that vibe from him. I liked what he said after the game by saying it was a mentality thing. Purely a mentality thing that lost us the game, because there's the ability is in the team, and it was pure mentality that lost him the game. So that mentality needs to change. 100% needs to change. And and like I said, that ruthlessness and that smart cricket starts with the selection and it starts with the coach. And it starts with the selectors to decide on picking a team that they think can complement each other. They need to build, in the batting department, they need to build partnerships. They need to pair off guys that they know they can play with each other and adapt their game accordingly, naturally. It mustn't feel forced. It must be a natural thing for them. And that's why trying different combinations is important. And we've got 5 games here, guys. I hope that Boucher doesn't just stick with those 5, that 11, same combination every single game, and says, this is our best team and we're going to try to play. And then they flop. And then he's like, oh no, now we have to change. By the time we get to the business end of closer to the T20, what's he going to do then? Decide to try new things in the World Cup? No. It's your time now to at least try now against a settled team. You can now try your different combinations. You can try guys and put them in and see how they perform, because now every single game that he plays is a pressure situation game. They must look at every single game as a knockout game, as a World Cup game. That's how they should face this particular series. So let's just wrap this up. What would you like to see later today, Aditya? What do you expect to happen? I mean, it's game after game. It's back-to-back games. So I think both sides will feel a little bit of fatigue. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think West Indies will feel less fatigue because they don't run much anyway, and they only batted for 15 overs. So I think they're going to be pretty fresh. With South Africa, for South Africa, I think it's important for them to get the selection right. And this is that opportunity where they really do need to try a bunch of different players, because we've talked about this before. Where we've said that you formulate a strong strategy before a game or before a series. You go into the series and you execute. If it goes wrong, that's fine. At least I had certain criteria for my selection processes, and frankly, I'm just not getting that right now. There was, with due respect to Reza Hendricks, I can't think of a logical reason for Reza Hendricks being selected after what Aiden Markram and Yaneman Malan had done previously. And I do hope that one of the two are batting with Quinton tonight. That and at number 6, I want to see Rian Mulder. Just
Yeah.
That's that. I think we've also identified that as a problem previously. Where death batting simply hasn't been good enough. And and I'm sure the bowling plans will change today. They're not going to continue with what they did yesterday.
Yeah. So from their perspective, there is a lot. So if from their perspective, not from my perspective, from their perspective, there is a logical explanation for it, because Pouch has been very clear that he has in his mind who he wants to be in that side, and if they are not, if say now it's injury and they're out of the side, they give a person an opportunity. Whether that person does well or not, they put the person that they first had in mind in the side, and that's been a consistent thing with him. We saw it with Kyle Verreynne. Kyle Verreynne was excellent in the ODIs, and then they put him in the team because people were missing. Then when the next people came back, when other people came back, they dropped Kyle and they put other people in. We've seen it over there. We've seen it in the test arena. He's done the same thing with the tests. We've seen it, like, for example, with Peter Malan scoring runs, and then they dropped Peter Malan, and then they brought in Aiden back again. So there's a lot of similarities. I don't think that it's going to change their mind on that. I think that's what Boucher thinks right now.
I mean, fair enough. I agree with what you've just said.
Doesn't mean it's right, though.
in saying that, when South Africa and Pakistan were playing, Boucher himself said that the players went up to him and said that this is how we want to play our T20 cricket, which essentially meant that the team wanted to go slam bang from ball 1. My question to South Africa then is Reza Hendricks the guy to do that? Can he go slam bang from ball 1? Because we've seen Aiden Markram and Yaneman Malan do that quite successfully, and Quinton de Kock we know can do that as well. But is Reza Hendricks the guy to do that?
If you see with Reza, like you saw in this match, like with Reza, he can, but he gets almost, sometimes it feels to me, sometimes he gets ahead of himself. Then he makes a decision like he did. There was no need for him to walk down the track in that delivery. There's absolutely no reason for him to do it at that particular stage. If you're going to come, that was like, for me, it was like in a no man's land shot, because he kind of like walked forward, where maybe if you're going to get out of your crease, double step, then that makes sense. A quick double step, quick movement, and need the guy out of the park. But it was almost like he was in two worlds. He walked out and tried to like almost block the ball, and it beat him completely. So I think he's kind of fighting against his natural game. And I think a lot of players are fighting against their natural game, Aditya.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know if you agree with that.
I do, but it's what I'm seeing from a selection point of view, and the game plan that South Africa wants to employ. They're both sort of contrary to one another, and it's not helping anyone. It's like asking, back in the day, it's when we had Rahul Dravid in the team, it's almost like expecting him to bat at a strike rate of 150 to 200. That's not going to happen. He's a defensive player. He has the technique to do it, and he can do anything. But to expect him to score consistently at 150 is not going to happen. So I just wonder if we're expecting too much from players who are just naturally inclined to play in a different way. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron.
Well, if that is the case, then how about this for an idea for tonight's game? Why don't you just let them have free reign and play how they like? You've got nothing to lose. Let's face it, it's a bilateral series.
Exactly.
We've got a T20 World Cup coming up. I mean, it's a massive group. We haven't even spoken about who South Africa have in the group. You've got India, England, and Afghanistan, who are absolutely extraordinary teams who play brilliant cricket and will be suited to those conditions. Tonight is an exact opportunity to express yourself as a T20 cricketer. Back it up. If it's a mentality thing, change the mentality. That's not technique. It's not talent. It's not ability. It's not caliber of players. If it is just mentality, go out there tonight and do what the West Indies did. And even if it doesn't pay off, they might not get 200 runs. They might not win the game. But at least just show some intent. It's as simple as that. The West Indies are a better side. The West Indies at the moment are far more better set up. I think personally for T20 cricket, they have better players. But with that being said, South Africa have more than enough quality and ability in that team to spring a surprise. It's as simple as that. So change the mentality, be more aggressive in the power play, be more aggressive during the middle overs, show us that you can finish off an innings with a good strike rate in over 16 to 20, and change the bowling style. I think that was the other big thing about yesterday, of course. I mean, we've spoken heavily about batting there towards the end, but the bowling as well, it has to change. It really does. More slow balls, more variation. As Aditya said as well, try the wide Yorker. It's something which we don't really see with South African bowlers. I mean, even if it doesn't pay off, I'm just say this from experience, I don't mind if a Yorker goes for wide, because again, it shows intent. It shows that you're trying something different. It shows that you're not straying away from the plan massively. And at some point, you are going to nail it. You're going to execute it. So just keep on plugging away, be tenacious. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, South Africa can put in a much better performance tonight. It's going to be a challenge. The West Indies are a top quality opposition. But back up the chat now. Tonight is a perfect opportunity. We don't want to be doing another daily show or another wrap-up show saying what South Africa could have done. Leave it all out there on the pitch. Go from 0 to 100 if that's your style. Play your style. Because if it works, who knows? It could be the catalyst and the spark that South Africa need to generate some momentum before this T20 World Cup.
And pick the right guys that can implement that style too. So, like Aaron is saying, also, just if they implemented this type of game plan and it was clear to us what game plan they were implementing and it failed, I think we could be more forgiving.
Yes.
But they implement the incorrect game plan, completely opposite to what everybody's asking for, and then it fails. Obviously, people are gonna come hard at them. So, yeah, I would like to see a much better, improved in performance, and I hope South Africa can do that. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for all the views that you gave us on today's show. Smash that like button, please. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also download the latest issue of the magazine. Become a subscriber. It's 100% free. Link is on the screen and in the description. The guys on the screen contribute regularly in the magazine as well, so you'll get to hear the insights in a different format, in a lot more. They have a lot more time to give the insights in depth, and it's on paper. So, they can't change it halfway through if they made a mistake like I do sometimes. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Enjoy the game, and go to cricketfanaticsmag.com as well for all updates. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another review show. Same time, same place. Cheers.